for anybody else?
So he had to work every summer for somebody else in order to make a living. I took care of the ranch and done the irrigating and everything in the summertime, and he worked on the forest in the summer, because they ain't a ranch in Stanley that'll keep a family.
Why not?
Because they can't raise hay enough to raise enough cattle to do it.
So you had to buy hay?
No, we raised our own hay, but you can't raise enough hay to feed enough stock to keep you going, you see. And he worked out in the summer. He'd go out in June when they opened up to go to work. And he'd work till the 1st of August. And then he'd come home and we'd put our hay up. And then he'd go out again and work until fall. And work until they would close down on the forest.
Did he work like in the woods every summer?
No, he was working on the forest. He was helping build road. He was using teams. He had 2 teams and working on they were building roads for different places, you know, up around the lakes and all. And that's where he was working. He wasn't getting out timber or anything. He was working to building roads and like that for the forest. There was a whole crew of them. And he had his 2 teams. Every summer.
What kind of hay did you have?
Wild hay. Just the wild hay.
So you
yes, it's wild hay is just they use what they call a wiregrass, and then there was it's all mixed up. I couldn't tell you. There was the red top and like that of wild hay. That's all it is. It's just a natural meadow.
Wasn't there sagebrush?
Not where the meadow was. There was no sagebrush. It's a natural meadow where our place was.
Has there been more sagebrush moving in?
Oh yes, there was sagebrush. It's been sagebrush for years.
Did you ever plant any crops up here, or try to plant any hay or grass?
We planted some alfalfa one time, just a little patch to try it, but it froze down. It just wasn't good to freeze out, you know. And we raised a garden. We raised a garden of lettuce and radishes and onions and turnips and carrots and peas and just that kind. We raised a garden there. And we raised strawberries. You'd never find had better strawberries than we raised there. And we have this big patch of strawberries, and we'd gather a half a bushel at a time. About every 3 or 4 days, you'd gather a half a bushel of strawberries off of it. But the darn quackgrass got in and just killed them out. You couldn't get...
few years you were there, didn't our dad freeze?
Yeah, he froze it. That's right, I forgot about that. The first few years we were there, why, he froze it from Haley for the 4-horse team.
Who did he work with?
Tink Niece. Tink Niece run the store. And he froze it, well, he froze it for anybody that wanted anything. He'd bring them freight, you know. And he'd start freight every summer.
How long a trip was that for him to go to Haley?
2.5 days.
Each way, 2.5 or
2.5 for each way.
Now, was this with a freight wagon?
Yeah, it was a big wagon. It wasn't one of those real freight wagons with the wide tires and that, but it was just a common big wagon, you know, that hauled pretty good loads on a ton anyway.
With horse team?
There's 4 horses. Yeah, 4 horses, and then he'd take him 2.5 days to go out and 2.5 to come back.
You said in your garden, like you raised vegetables, were those enough to keep you going, or did you ever have to buy some?
Oh yes, in the fall we had to buy potatoes and things like that, you know, and onions, and we generally raised enough carrots and turnips and like that for ourselves. We'd store them in the sand, and then you did about that sand cellar, and you take a box or an old tub or something and put the sand in, and then put your carrots in there, and then a layer of sand, and a layer of carrots, and a layer of sand, and you get them out of there, and they're just like they were right out of the ground. That's the way we done, but all, now potatoes and onions like that, what we had to buy.
Well, those wouldn't grow in the valley, would they?
Potatoes and onions? Well, no. We had, one year we planted potatoes and they were all in bloom and we kept them that winter for to have, you know, kept them and have them next spring to plant them. And we had the dandiest garden. We even had string beans. And we had Swiss chard and we didn't know what it was. We'd sent for beet seeds. Well, that Swiss chard, you know, grows way up like that, and the stems are so white and all, we thought maybe you ate it like you did celery. Well, we didn't know what it was used for. And there was a botanist in Stanley. He'd just come in there for the summer, and we knew him. And I took some of it down and asked him what the world it was and how you used it. And he said, you mean to tell me you got some of that up there? And I said, yes, we have. 2 rows of it. Well, he said, could I have some of it if I come up? He said, I just love that it's green. You use it as green. And you cook it and boil it, you know, for its greens. Cut it off right at the top of the ground and then it'll come up again. Well, that was the first day of August. And I said, well, yes, you come up tomorrow and you can have some. And the next morning we got up and it was 2 below zero and we didn't have no garden. You know? Everything just like fine. He come up there and he was just sick when he's in that garden. And we had these potatoes that we'd saved the year before and they were just, everything was so nice and that's what happened.
Did you ever use any of the wildflowers or natural plants up there?
Yes, the camas and the shooting star and the lupine, and then there's the sunflower, of course, and then there's the flower that grows in the swamp early in the spring that looks like a sunflower, only is white. I don't know what they call them. They grow up about so high, but the flower looks like a sunflower, only it's white.
Would it be Waithia?
Huh?
Waithia?
Come up every year?
Yeah, they
Did you ever try to eat the camas?
No, we never did.
Or
It
wild
has a
onions?
bulb on it, camas does, but we never did try to eat it. But they say the Indians made flour out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say.
There are lots of wild strawberries up there too.
Yes, there's a lot of strawberries and raspberries and gooseberries. My kids used to go and gather the wild gooseberries. There are not too many raspberries, but they used to go and gather the gooseberries and that'd make them pies or we'd make jam out of them. They always hated to do it, but they did. And then there's lots if you know where to go, there's lots of huckleberries. They grow up in the mountains higher. And all those grand old mountains, I just love to go back up there and see them.
When you said like you would have to buy like your supplies, you know, because you didn't have enough to last you all through the year, like would you buy them in Stanley or would you go someplace else?
We bought them, what little we needed, we bought in Stanley, but we always went to Haley and bought our winter supply. We bought enough flour and sugar and the main things to last us a year. But if we run short on something, well, we just bought it there at the Stanley store, there in the upper town.
Did you bring in your livestock with you?
No, we had horses. We didn't have any cows at all. We lived in Jackson's Hole. And we left Jackson's Hole and went overland with a team of wagons to Ely, Nevada. We were hunting a mine. And down this side of Ely, we pulled up in a canyon to camp and let our horses rest because you take horses, taking them out of that mountains up there and take them on that desert, you know, where it's all desert, where it's awful hard on them. So we asked this fellow if we could, there was any rattlesnakes up in this canyon, and he said no. So we pulled up there for a week and let the horses rest and all kinds of feed there. And we was looking to see if we could find a mine, and we found some float. That, it was really good. And we followed that up this mountain, up to the top that somebody had filed on it the day before. We just liked that much of finding it. And after we came to Stanley, we come from Ely, Nevada to Stanley. We were headed for Big Hole, Montana. But we run on to a couple of fellows in Stanley that we knew in Jackson's Hole, Wyoming. And they talked us into taking this place that we had there. Why, we took the paper from Ely, Nevada. And that was one of the richest mines around there. We just liked the day of finding it.
Did you ever try mining instead?
No, gracious, no. He was a cowboy. He liked cattle. Well, we come into Stanley in 1908. In 1912, we went to out there. You know where those red top motel is, the other side of Ketchum? Well, Roy McCoy owned that, and he had cattle, and we bought 3 milk cows to him there, and trailed them home, trailed them into Stanley. We were 3 days that time, because you couldn't make too good a time with the cows, you know, and we trailed them in. That was our first cow, in 1912. Yeah, I made cheese. It's yellow cheese, like you just, you know, I made 5-pound bricks.
How did you do that?
Well, you take so much milk. I don't remember how much milk that it was that I used, but you use the fresh milk. And I had a copper boiler, a wash boiler, and you put so much milk in there, and then they had what they call a rennet, and you, a little tablet, and you dissolved that in water and put it in this milk, and it made it thicken. And then you take a knife and cut it this way and across. Well, there are whey forms there. You dip that whey off and put it in a kettle on the stove and just come to a boil. Pour it back over that and keep doing that till the cheese it's formed to cheese, and you have a coloring you put in the milk to make it the yellow. And then I had my husband took their vise that they use in wood. They use for screwing down wood, you know. Well, he made me a bench, and then he put 2 of these on there. We had 2. I could make 2 5-pound bricks. And he took a piece of galvanized pipe, it was 6 inches, I think, across. 6 inches. And then he made it about that long. And I had a board that he made round, and then put a crease in it so that this set down in it, you know. And then a place where the whey can get out. And you put that in there and you screw it down so tight. Then the next day, every once in a while, you'll screw it down till the whey quits coming out. And then take it out and let it set and age. And I sold those 5-pound bricks of cheese for $1 each. See what cheese is worth now, $1 a pound. Huh? And I made butter. I made 25, 30 pounds at a time. And one was making cheese, so I made butter, sold it for 25 cents a pound.
Would you separate your own milk?
Oh yes, we had a separator. Separated our own cream. Huh? Yeah, the first few years, right? We had the milk pans and any big dish crop, and I skimmed it by hand. I guess it was, at least, must have been 10 years before we got a separator. I know it was a long time. the hayfield all day and come in at night and skim the cream off of that milk. And then when it was ready, churn it and work your butter after you got through a day's work in the hayfield. I done all the mowing and raking of the hay, and my husband would haul till I'd get it all mowed and raked, and I had my wagon and he had his, and we'd had us field stacking outfit. At first we didn't, we had to pitch it off. And he'd pitch it off until the stack would get high enough that I was afraid to stay on it, and then I'd get on the wagon and pitch it off and he'd finish stacking it. Then we got what they call a field stacking outfit. You took a whole load up at once, you know.
With nets?
Yes, nets in it.
Where'd you get that outfit?
Montgomery Ward. And we sent to Montgomery Ward and got it. And then when we had I would load my load up just so that it was level with the rack, and then I'd get on his wagon well, he'd finish loading mine. Then I'd get off of mine onto his and load it, you know, and tramp it down, and then we'd take the both loads in. I'd earned my money while I was up there.
Did you make your cheese and your butter? Did you do that for several years?
Yes, the cheese, I think I made 2 years, but butter I made all the time as long as we had plenty, you know. I made butter all the time until I left there.
Would the field stacking outfit include a derrick?
Well, the field stacking outfit, you get 2 poles, put them up like that at each end, and then they had what they call a dead man. You buried a log in the ground and fastened it with a cable about the size of that goes over here, and then it goes over this other one, and you fasten it down solid at one end. And the other end you have a log laying down like this with holes in it, and the cable's right in the center, and the holes are on this side. You have holes here and holes here, and then you have these bars, we used crowbar, and then another bar we found on Galena Summit, it was about as long as this, or maybe a little longer than this. It was been on a car, and it had a thing on my whole lot. And it had been clamped on the hind part of the car, on the X, you know. And then when they'd stop, it would dig in the ground and hold them. They wouldn't have to keep the brakes on. And that we found in 1980 as we come over the summit. This car had gone over the summit ahead of us. And they had stopped, and it had went in the ground so deep that when they went by, they left it. It broke loose. And we had that, and you take this there bars, and then you screw this up, and that tightens your cable. And then out in the middle of the cable, or one end of the cable, there was what they call a trip. The trip, the thing that run along with it was had wheels on it, you know, and then it had a place. And when they did get to this place, you tripped it, and the whole load of hay come down. That carrier, it was what they called a carrier. It had 2 wheels, one at each end, and it'd go on to this place and it'd stop. And then there was a trip on the bottom of the nets that you pull the rope, and it would trip the nets and they'd fly open, you know, and then your hay all go down. Yeah, pull the hay up with a team before it tripped it, you know. We'd always had use your team and put the team on the derrick or on and pull it up.
Now for your mowing, were you using a mowing machine?
Huh?
For mowing the hay, were you using a mowing machine?
Yes.
Or doing it by hand?
Mowing machine team. And she was raking the hay with the team rake, and she was about, I guess, 14, wasn't she? And the team ran away with her and throwed her off. And they just tore that rake all to pieces. And Buck would have it. They threw their back of it and stood in front of it. Boy, they really took that right for a ride. And they just tore it all to pieces. The dogs scared them, wasn't it? I think dogs come out of the willows and scare them.
Were you raised on a ranch? Is that why you knew?
No, I was raised in a wagon. That's what I tell everybody. I was born in Pendleton and raised in a wagon. My folks just, they'd go here and get enough money to go there, and we just traveled around all over in the wagon. And my folks never stayed any place very long.
When were you?
1889. Pendleton, Oregon, 1889.
It's the same year my grandfather was born. He was born in Rosalia, Washington.
Oh,
So he's the same age as me. Where was your husband from?
he was from Michigan, from Detroit, Michigan. Mallard, Michigan.
Did you say he worked as a cowboy?
Yeah, when he was 17 years old, he left home and come out to Colorado. And he just was a cowboy and got in with cowboys, and he liked that kind of a life, and he was with them until in 1900. Yeah, 1900. Why he came to Green River, Wyoming. That's where I met him. I was very old at the time. He was 23 years older than I was. And he's lived with my folks then until we were married when I was 16. And we were married in Jackson, Wyoming. We lived there we were there 7 years. My folks lived there 6 years. And my folks went to Alaska. I never did see my mother anymore or my dad. Stanley was quite a place when we first went there. There was nothing much there.
Were there many miners around?
No, there wasn't any miners. The main thing that anyone that, not like Dave Williams, the way he made his living was packing fellas out hunting in the fall, and fishermen in the summertime. And he had some cattle, but he had to work out just the same to make a living. That's for his family.
Were there a lot of hunters coming through?
In the fall, yes. And then the sheep came in. The sheep used to trail in there. There used to be a lot of sheep, and they would rent your pasture in the fall. And generally you get pretty good price for it if you had it, so you could let them have it, you know. Generally gave you a pretty good price.
Where would the hunters come from? Boise?
All over, even back east, you know. They come from all over.
To hunt the deer?
Yeah, hunt deer and elk, goats. There are a lot of goats up in the mountains there. I don't know how they are now. There's many there now. But there's a lot more elk now than there was then. The elk was never there in the winter. They went over onto the Payette in the winter. But they would come in the spring and be there in the summer, just certain places, you know. But now they're all over. And they even winter there.
Did your family hunt a lot, or just like
No.
for just what needs to be
Just
fit?
needed me.
Or would you go just back up and live behind your house?
Yes, I killed them right from the kitchen door. And that was, of course, it was out of season. But one day I was going out around the wood pile. We had a wood pile that my husband cut in the winter, or went upward to last us till the next winter. And it was stacked up, and he could tell tell you how many sticks of wood was each tier. It was 7 feet high, and I think it was 30 feet long. There was 3,000 sticks of copwood on each tier. And he had 5 tiers of that. And then he had 2 tiers of heater wood. And I don't know how many sticks was in it. He might have told me, but I remember the copwood. And I went around the copwood pile to get some wood, and I see this deer just out through the fence. And I went in the house and got the gun and killed it. And one of my girls lived right there close by me, and the other one, the youngest one, the one you talked to yesterday, she was in doing up the work, and she heard me shoot, and she come along from what I was shooting at, and I went in the house to get the butcher knife to cut its throat, and I never answered her, and here come the other one, want to know what the road I was shooting at. I went out there, and here they come. They see what I was shooting at. And we had just got it, they helped me, and we just got it through the fence when my daughter's husband come home, and then he finished it out, he dressed it out. And then one time, my son and his wife, wasn't his wife at the time, but they were taking cattle from our place up to her place. To summer them, you know, and I was supposed to meet them at the Redfish, or at the bridge above Redfish Lake Creek. That's the bridge where you cross the river going out. And I was to meet them there and have lunch for them when they got there with the cattle. And I was putting stuff in the pickup to pick their lunch. And I see this deer out at the salt lick there where they'd had salt for the stop. And I thought it was a doe, and I took the field glasses and looked to be sure, and he had harm and stuff. I went and got the gun, and we had meat the next day. That wasn't only just a little ways from the house.
When you'd summer your cattle, you took them further up in the hills? When you'd summer your cattle, were you taking them further up in the hills too?
No, we didn't. We had our cattle right around our place, but we were summering these cattle for a friend of ours here in Chalice, and we took them from our place up to, we rented her place, my daughter-in-law afterwards, she is now, and we rented her place to summer these cattle on, and we had them up there. That's up just above the Dude Ranch. You know where the Dude Ranch is? Where that fellow's got those thoroughbred cattle and they above the bridge.
West of Stanley.
As you're going towards Ketchum. They call it the Dude, it used to be a Dude Ranch, but it isn't now, it's Cow Ranch.
Yeah, Rocky Mountain Range.
Yeah, that. Well, it's, her ranch is just above theirs. They don't know
What was her name?
Or they stole it.
What was her name?
Oh, Bella Williams is her name. Bella Lee was her name before my son married her. But her name was Williams. She was Dave Williams' daughter. Bella Williams.
Is that any relation to Ted or Morgan?
Yes, it was Ted's sister. Ted's full sister. You know Ted.
Well, we met his wife yesterday.
Well, she's Ted's full sister. She's Morgan's half-sister. And Mrs. Williams, Morgan's mother lives over here in Chalice.
What's her name?
Carrie Williams. Yeah, Carrie Williams.
When the sheep came in, was there ever any problems between the sheep and the cattle?
No, there never was no trouble between them at all.
Would it ever work out where one guy who owns some cattle, but he also owns some sheep too?
Well, I wouldn't say to that. I wouldn't say to that because I don't think so. I don't think there was ever any of the cattlemen owned sheep. The sheepmen and the cattlemen both, they have the fence up there, so the forest fixed it so that the cowman has it on one side and the sheepman on the other. They built a fence about so high.
careful with big predators of any kind? The bears didn't come down.
Huh?
Did bears come down at all?
Oh yes, they never bothered us, but we rented our pasture to a sheep outfit, and we hadn't let them in on the field yet, and they were over on what we called Goat Creek, just over the hill from our place. And my husband was up the Valley Creek building a fence for a fella, and he was camped up there. And the kids and I were on the ranch, and this fella come down, wanted to know if I'd go up and kill that bear. He wouldn't kill it, this sheep herder was getting in his sheep and killed it. I'd bake bread and cake and pie and take up to him, you know. And I went up and I told him, I said that, I don't remember what the fellow's name was, he was a Vasco. And I said, he wanted me to come over there and kill a bear that's bothering his sheep. And he said, well, you're not going to do it till I get home. He says, you're not going over there. I said, chances are he'd get scared and run, and if you wounded the bear and it got after you, what would you do? So I didn't get to kill the bear. Yeah, the bear got into the sheep every once in a while. But he wouldn't kill him.
What kind of bear was up there? Did they have grizzly bears?
No, there's no grizzlies that I know of around Stanley. If you want grizzlies, go over to Jackson's home. My boy and his wife and their son was working on building a trail for the forest over in Jackson's home. And they were camped out 28 miles out of Jackson up in the mountains, you know, building this trail. And one day he said that they were going back to their camp and they see this bear. And he had a 6-shooter. He was shooting a 6-shooter. And they happened to discover it was a grizzly. Boy, he said that he was sure glad he didn't hit him. And then they had to leave their camp. They shut them down from working on account of fire season. And they took he took all his clothes and put them in the duffel bag, and then put a pole from one tree to the other and hung them up there, and hung several things up on this here so the bear couldn't get them. And when they went back home, his clothes was all over the flat. They tore them down, and my daughter-in-law had a set of these Tupperware bowls, and there wasn't a darn thing in them. And then bear had chewed holes in every one of them. And they just tore what they could get a hold of, they just tore all the pieces. But they raised the flaps up on their tent. They put it up the walls, you know, so the bear could go in under. So they wouldn't tear their tent up, because if they hadn't, why they'd tear the tent up to get in there, you know. No, there's no grizzlies that I ever knew of around here, or down here, but there's sure plenty of them up there.
Would you keep hogs on your ranch?
Huh?
Did you keep hogs on your ranch?
Just enough for our own pork.
Did you do your own butchery?
We butchered them ourselves. Yeah, we just kept, in the spring we'd buy some small ones, and then we did one year. We had an old pig, and she had some little ones, and we kept her, but just one winter was enough for her to try to winter them.
Did you keep them pinned up, or did you just let them run?
We just let them run, and they went through the haystack. There was a haystack that just had a fence around. They could get in, and they just went tunnel clear through into that haystack. Well, they tore it out enough that the bull got in it. And he was in there, and my husband had run him out several times. And this time the bull was in far enough, he didn't see my husband, and he had a pitchfork. And he knew he was there, but he poked him with that pitchfork. And the pigs had wound up clear through, but they hadn't done it clear up high enough. But he made a hole along through there, the bull did. He sure pellered.
What would they eat? Would they just root for themselves?
No, we didn't let them loose. We kept them penned up, and we fed them We fed them the milk and slop from the house, and then we bought grain and fed them. No, we did, one time there was a fellow by the name of Pat Rice brought us, I think he brought 4, and we let them run loose, but boy, they just wrecked the meadow, so we had to shut them out.
What time of year did you butcher?
Huh?
What time of year did you butcher?
In November or December. Because if you butchered sooner than that, we had no electricity there then or nothing, you know, no deep freezes or nothing like that. So the meat would spoil if you didn't wait until it freeze. But it would freeze. Of course, the pork, I cured that. I used Tender Quick and Martin's Meat Smoke. And I cured it myself.
Dry cured, or
Huh?
did you just rub the stuff in, or did you
Well,
wet cure?
on the outside, or this meat smoke you rubbed on the outside, and the Tender Quick, we had it done a whole lot like a hypodermic needle that you poked in about where you thought the joint was, and it shoots this in there and made a liquid out of it, you know, and then shoot it in around the bones so the bones, it wouldn't spoil next to the bones. And then you didn't use that on your bacon because it made it too salty.
Did you have a smokehouse?
No, just used the Martin meat smoke, and that made it smoky taste. And then for the first few years we used Wright's meat smoke, it was called. It was a liquid and you painted it on them. And that really was better than the other. We liked it better. But they quit making that and just had this other. And this Martin meat smoke was just like salt. That's what it looked like. It was salt and sugar, I think, and then some kind of stuff that tastes like smoke, you know. And that made it smoky.
Did you make sausages?
Oh yes, we made our own sausage.
Using what, everything that was left over?
Yeah, what we couldn't make anything else, so we used for sausage. And then I take the sausage and when we made it, we'd make the little patties, cook it about half done, then put it in cans, and then pour hot lard over it, and make it about that thick on top. And then when you wanted it, why you just dug that out and put it in the frying pan, and by the time that got melted and got hot, why it was done, you know. And then if you didn't use it all, I generally put it in 2-pound can. We had the 5 children and us, why that would use up one of a 2-pound can of sausage.
Did you make head cheese?
Yes, and fix the pig feet. Yeah, I used to do all that. Now I can't do nothing. Yeah, I used to do all that. My husband, he never helped me. I did it all by myself because they had to clean it. And I used to help him butcher. He'd skin his part of the beef, and I'd skin mine. Didn't have of it me and that. And then cutting it up, I generally always helped him cut it up.
Did you ever sell any of the beef?
Oh yes, we sold beef. Yes. Still, it wasn't near as high as it is now.
Nothing is.
Did they have a market around here for that sort of thing?
Huh?
Did they have a market for like an auction?
No,
Or
not
anything
up
like
How would
there.
you sell it?
Not up there.
Did you just sell it out of your house, or?
The beef, yeah, they come and get it by the quarter or half. When we were going to butcher, why anybody wanted it, they'd let us know ahead, you know, how much they wanted, and then they'd come and get it themselves and cut it out.
People in town mostly? Or
No, it's different ones, some in town, some on the ranches that didn't have cattle.
How many head of cattle did you keep?
We had, at one time, we had 60 head. That's all we had to hay for 60 head of cattle, and I think we had 10 head of horses. I wouldn't say just how many horses we did have.
Plus you had milk cows too, right?
Yeah, well, the 60 head of cattle would be including the milk cows. We milked, I have milked as high as 8 head. 8 cows. We milked them by hand. Because they didn't have no electricity when I was in Stanley. Got that since I was there.
That's been quite recent.
When did they get power, Stanley?
I don't remember, do you? Huh?
It's been since we moved away from that.
I don't remember when it's been. I wouldn't say just when, because it's since I moved away there, and I left there in 46.
Then did you come here?
No, I went to Big Hole, Montana, and worked for 6.5 years. Took them for one of the biggest cow outfits in Big Hole. And I was over there 6.5 years, and then I came over on this side of the mountains over to Lemhi, that's above Salmon. And I took 2.5 years there. And then I got so I couldn't cook or couldn't stand the work. Then I stayed with Mrs. Sullivan up here on Sullivan Hot Springs. You've seen them as you come down. There was an old lady there, Sadie Sullivan. She went well, and I stayed with her for a year and a half, and then she passed away. And I haven't worked hardly any since. I worked one summer since, all summer. I went to Alaska, to Wrangell, Alaska, and worked up there for a lady during all summer. I have a brother, now I have a brother in Wrangell, Alaska, and sister in Everett, Washington, but my other brothers are gone, and my one sister. My brother's a fisherman, and he fishes in the summer for salmon, you know, and then in the winter he gets shrimp. Makes it a business of getting shrimp.
Did any of your brothers or sisters ever live around Stanley?
My sister was there for a year in Stanley. She got married in Stanley, and then they moved back to Alaska, and now they're in Everett, Washington.
Did you catch the salmon that came up the river?
Yes. Yeah, we used to get them. It was a lot of fun when they spear them. We had a lot of fun spearing them, yes, and then I canned them, and then we smoked them.
What kind of spears do you use for that? What kind of spears would you use for that? For
Spears? They had problems about that long, and then, of course, to come up to, you know, how a fork is like, and they had a long pole, and there was 2 prongs for these spears. They were about so hard.
Were they homemade, or were they something that you bought?
You could make them. The ones we had was homemade. But some of them had them bought, you know, bought. But it was sure a lot of fun to get out there and chase those salmon. We went over to Bear Valley. I know there was a couple of fellows that came up from Ogden, Utah. And they wanted to go over there salmon fishing. Well, this Rupert Neese, they live up there by Clayton. He's an old timer from up there in Stanley. And they moved in there. They were there when we moved to Stanley, these nieces. And we went over into Bear Valley. Was 2 or 3 carloads of it. And I never got so tickled in my life as those 2 fellows from Ogden were trying to catch fish. And they holler, "Here it goes here!" It was at Bear River in Bear Valley. And there it goes there. They run and fell down to the spears, darn near speared me. I was standing watching him. He fell down to the spear, just missed me. And off into the river they'd go. They got the salmon. Oh, they weighed, anyway, 35, 40 pounds.
I've heard of people pulling the fish out by hand, tickling underneath them, pulling them out.
Well, I never knew to do that. Well, I will say this, yes. Up there above Ted Williams, or above the Dude Ranch, they call them in the irrigating ditch. Like that. But I don't think they could do that if they was in the river. When down at the dam, when the dam was in, the water went through that tunnel and it went through such force, that salmon would try to go up through it. And it would throw them back and they'd hit the side of the walls of the rock there, and it'd just stun them and they'd just go clear across the river with their head right up like that. And the fellow went there and put a spear or something. And he had a spear and he had a rope fastened on the end of the pole of his spear, and then he fastened that rope around his wrist and went out in that water pretty near to his waist to spear a salmon. Well, he caught the salmon, and the salmon, he was in that deep water. The salmon took him off of his feet down in, and the rope was fastened on his wrist. He couldn't get it off. And it took him in there at the dam, below the dam, clear down below Yankee Fork, where Yankee Fork comes in. And he said he never seen so many fish in all his life. But when he got below the Yankee Fork, it went where the water was shallow enough that he could get on his feet, not so swift. And he got it out. Well, I went down there with a couple from at home there, and her and him didn't get along too well, and we were going down there the first time I'd ever seen them spear salmon. And we went down there, the kids and I, and with them, and she tried her best to get him to fasten that spear like that on his arm. I know she wanted to drown him. We got a salmon, they got a salmon that day, it weighed 35 pounds, and I got a 10-pound bucket of eggs out of that salmon. And I like these trout eggs, take trout eggs, they're little fine ones, and cook them real crisp, and boy, they're good. And I thought, oh boy, what a mess I'm going to have now, fish eggs. So I cooked up some of those salmon eggs. Nobody would eat them but me. I didn't eat very many of them. Talk about glue. Oh. Well, I bet I was a week picking those darn things out of my teeth.
Well, I was interested when you were talking about hunting the line in Nevada. The float is rocks on the surface.
Yes, float is rocks that's broke loose from the ledge and just like roll down, roll down. And that's how we found these rocks, and we followed them up the hill. You can find one every once in a while. You'll find a piece of it, and where it come down.
What other sorts of things do you look for when you're hunting for one?
I couldn't tell you.
I was just
That's the
curious.
only time I had any experience of anything like that. I couldn't tell you. You see any rock or see any that shines and is real pretty yellow, why you better look into it and see what it's like.
I was curious about building cabins up in the Sawtooth Valley because it's so cold. Did you do anything special to keep the snow from collapsing the roof or to keep it up?
Just shovel it off. We'd have to shovel it off when it gets too deep. I'd shovel it off.
Did you you had a peaked roof?
Well, it's just, yes, it's just enough like that. It would couldn't slide out. It
Did you?
wasn't deep enough to slide off. And you take, now, them days, we didn't have foundation under it, you know, just lay a log on the ground, and then notch them, and you take them, cut them, down about that much, on two sides, no, three sides, and then you put them together, and then you notch your next one and put it together. And that way the logs are right together. Like that. And then you take little poles and split them in 4 pieces. Maybe you'll have to do some whittling on them, or whittle them up and put them in that crack and nail them in. And then get mud over on the outside. You put this on the inside and the mud on the outside.
Did you mix anything with the mud?
No, we had just, there's a certain place up there in Stanley that you can go and get this mud, and it just sticks right in there and don't come out. But all dirt won't do that, you know, but there was, I don't remember just where it was that we went and got it, but no, we didn't. Lots of people do. Mix a little cement in, and then put it in. But, and then we had these logs. They were about that big around. And I had plants that I had in the window at 40 below zero in the kitchen, and the heater was in the front room, and them plants never froze, only where the leaves had hit the windows. I had all kinds of geraniums and things like that, you know. They never froze. We never froze anything in the house.
Did you square off the logs?
Yeah, he hewed them. We had a broad axe. And that broad axe, I think my son's got it now. I know he did have it, but I don't think he put it in a museum. I wanted him to put it in that museum there at Getty's. I don't think he did. I think he still got it. And he hewed them. As he put the logs up and got them where they belonged, then he'd hew it on the inside. And that wall was, it wasn't real smooth, but it wasn't the round and log, you know, just up and down, and then you could fix it any way you wanted to. It wasn't be all. Now you take it the round log, well, one log will be a little rounder or stick out a little more than the other one, but this way, well, you could take boards and put them up there.
Did you put a board on the inside?
No, we didn't. We never fixed it. We never had the money to reline it and fix it like that.
Did you have a fireplace?
No. When he was putting the building up, we had 2 rooms, 14 by 16. There was one out this way, 14 by 16, then there was one this way, 14 by 16, and then there was the bedroom, 10 by 12, or 10 by 14, or 12 by 14, yeah, 12 by 14. Well, on the front room, well, on that side, he sawed as he was putting it up. He sawed the log about that much in 2 different places. We figured that someday we'd build a fireplace, but we never did. Because we didn't know how to do it, and we didn't have money to buy or somebody to do it.
Yeah. Well,
We never did get a fireplace.
how did you learn how to build the cabin itself?
Over just an experience.
Just watching other people's?
I guess I don't. He built it, and he built it real good.
How long did it take to build it?
Well, we come there the first day of September, and he worked. We put up hay, and then he worked on that building by himself. Only what little help I could give him, and we moved over in it the 15th day of December, 30 below zero. We moved over there the 15th 15th of December, it was 30 below zero.
Well, what did you live in while it was putting
We were living at Imeson's. That was some friends of ours that were from Jackson's Hole, and they had a house over towards the highway from where we lived. And we stayed there at their house, and then my husband went back and forth to build the house.
Did you put on the gable ends of the house? Did you just put it logs all the way up and keep shortening them?
Yes. Yes. That's the way we fixed it. That's all we had to do it with. And then he went up there buying a mine and got that lumber. We had enough lumber to fix the roof on the kitchen and dining room was in together, and then the front room. And then we didn't have enough to go over the bedroom. And we were 3 years before we lived in that one room, 14 by 16. Is the only one we got finished. But we had a roof on one, but not on the bedroom. And that caused the whole house to go that way. And then we tried to straighten it up, but they couldn't straighten it up. I see the snow comes so heavy on this part of it. And the bedroom here didn't have no roof on. Didn't go. The snow didn't cause it to settle too. That's what caused it to go over there. But we finally got them all done. They were all right.
Kept too warm.
Wasn't lumber ditches and dirt on top of the...
Oh yes.
And that made that so cool. The house was really cool in the summertime.
Warm in the winter. Yeah, but it all had dirt on it. On 4 inches, I think it was 4 or 6 inches of dirt probably on it.
Did you have any raptors?
Logs.
They had the ridge logs.
Ridge logs. There's 3 ridge logs. There's your logs for your wall, and there's 2 logs, one each side and one in the middle. And they built the gable ends up with logs, and then they put them ridge logs on it. And then for the floor, he put logs in for the joists on the floor.
Did anybody ever build any big 2-story houses in there?
Way up the country, up around Champion Creek, there was one that was a 2-story house, and that's been tore down. It was they were there for I don't remember how many years they were there, and I don't remember the people's names that built them.
I think I may have seen a picture of that, and it was labeled old post office. It said it was used.
Yes,
as
it
a
was
home
Pearson post office there at one time. And this woman, she wasn't the one that built the house or anything. They was living in this house, and she was running the post office. And somebody robbed her, held her up, and tied her up, and robbed the post office and everything. Come find out she short and she done it herself.
Oh. Tied herself up and everything?
Yeah, tied herself up and told how they tied her up and how they gagged her and all. It was her herself that she had made mistakes, you see, or else helped herself to the money. Nobody ever knew for sure. Come to find out what she helped herself. And I can't remember what her name was. I believe their names was Goals. I couldn't say for certain.
I sure wish we could see that house.
Well, that house is gone.
It really looked like a nice one.
then the old Benner Hotel there, did you see that before it was tore down?
No, we didn't.
Where was this? Was this at Pearson Tours?
Huh?
This is Pearson.
No, it's Stanley. The hotel, the big hotel, a two-story hotel across, it's across you know that gulch that comes down there, Stanley, as you start Stanley Lake? Well, right on that bench, there was a big two-story hotel.
Is this where they had the dance hall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think your
Heard
daughter
about it.
told me.
Yeah, that was a two-story log house. That was built in